Hello, everyone. I'm delighted that we've got Ignar Rip joining us today from part of the Pink Socks tribe. Really delighted to have you with us today. We've had great fun chatting with you online and seeing what you're doing as part of Pink Socks. Nick Adkins suggested that we connect. I've never regretted a moment of it. I think it's been a great online journey, but you're doing some amazing stuff, not only in building communities in healthcare and trying to bring people together, generally sharing the love, and there's lots of love in the room today, more so than usual, even if that were possible. Please tell us a bit about what you're doing, how you came to be part of the Pink Socks movement, and we all support Pink Socks.
Well, we all are part of Pink Socks. Antonio is in Portugal, so he doesn't have his Pink Socks. They're back in Ireland, but we're all proud to be part of the Pink Socks tribe. So you do have to tell us what the Pink Socks are about, so people know what we're talking about.
All right. Well, I know that the founder of the internet also talk about the Pink Socks.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very famous chat. The socks for me, the Pink Socks for me is standing for setting the human being central in healthcare. And that is the patient, but also the care worker and the nursing, because it is about them. It is not about money, it is not about high tech, and it is not about big egos, but it is about human connection. I always say this is half the care. And that is where the Pink Socks are for standing. Seeing a person and contacting with that person. And that is magic every time.
I agree.
Yeah. But how did you come to come across Pink Socks?
Well, that's I'm really not also online via Twitter, and I'm not really sure. I thought Nick Atkins give me a tweet, and that was also with the time I had something with Jack Adwaka about his fabulous book, really, and then I did connect with Nick, and we met here in Holland, in Nijmegen, by a big event. And well, and the rest is history, as they say. And now I'm gifting Pink Socks, and well, it's really, at the moment you gift Pink Socks, you make something touchable, which you cannot see.
Right.
Yeah.
And it connects us. It connects us. You become part of a community. And the thing I love about Pink Socks is that we're all talking about healthcare and social impact and inclusion of everyone. And it's about, like you said, Ignar, it is about the person and the people and us connecting as human beings. And that's why I think the Pink Socks phenomena is it's just so important, and it's happening all over the world. People are very proud of their Pink Socks, you know, because I think it shows that we care about humanity. So, but you also do work in the dementia field, because I know you talk a lot about dementia and Alzheimer's in your work as well.
Yes, that is, Neil asked me how this all started here. Well, everything started with the more than 10-year care for my mother with Alzheimer's. And well, during the care, I integrated my mother's favorite music into the care. And well, maybe naive, but I thought every care worker in the whole world does that. And also every caretaker. But then we get interviewed for a book about Alzheimer, and then it was, wow, what is it? What are you doing? And well, that thought didn't leave me, because my father and I had so much care aid from the music, and it gives also so much to my mother, that I want that every care worker and every nurse could benefit of the power of music. And also that every person with dementia has a right to his own music. And this comes very close to the Pink Socks. because I know now that most of the time in a care home, that people say, well, we put on a television or we put on a CD. And that is not seeing you. Because Antonio, what kind of music you like?
Well, I like classical music. I like ethnic music as well, and some specific. I like jazz and also some specific type of Portuguese music.
Okay, and Neil, what kind of music do you like?
Again, I'm quite eclectic, so everything from classical to jazz to electronic dance music, and if we're going back into my youth, indie music and rock.
Okay, and Deborah, you like?
Yeah, I'm with Neil. I'm very eclectic. I love everything, but I love to dance. I do Zumba, and so for some reason, the Latin music really speaks to my heart. I don't know why, but I just love it. But I also, I love I love classic rock. I love classical because I have been a musician my whole life, piano, flutes. My father was guitars. All of us kids played a musical instrument. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, Sarah, who's 31 now, we used to take the speakers and we would put them on my stomach so she has always loved music. And I've talked a little bit about this, but my husband has been, my beautiful, wonderful husband of 35 years has been diagnosed with early onset dementia. And I never thought, I haven't thought as much about how music could keep, right now he's stable and, maybe he will be for a long time, but music probably is a gateway. That's a very good point. I hadn't really consciously thought about. So that's a good point.
Okay, well, that's not easy, but I wish you all the best, you and your husband. And last time it's coming, it seems that it's coming more and more, young dementia. And people ask me often, when do I start with music? And I say directly, now. Because, and this is very important, Deborah, because when you are going, making music lists together with your husband, and especially the music from the period about his 25 years. At that moment he listened, they're coming memories above. Write them down. Tape it. Point. Please tape it. Because everything, because he say, well, in church, that was a lovely song. Write it down. Maybe he say, I did on my school working on a motorcycle or something else. Write it down. Everything what coming up and information about that period that is later on is that your bridge to making contact, but also for doing things. And for, if you need it, to create a surrounding in the future that is feeling for him like home, because his home will turn into the past. So
yeah, I would say, I want to say a couple of things. Thank you for letting me. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
you must just interrupt me.
Well, I just think it's just such a beautiful point that you're bringing up, because I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday who is an incredible young man, 26 years old, David Perez. And he's engaged to be married, and his life is so full of possibilities of the future. And we were talking a little bit about, what's been going on in my life. My mom passed, a few months ago. And he was saying, well, I think he felt empathy for me, which is really good. But I said, but what if this adventure that my husband and I are going on right now, what if it's not a sad, scary place filled with doom and gloom? What if this is a time when we can really experience our souls even more, which is what I think your work speaks to. And I also want to say, Ignar, even though I'm not going to remember the specifics, but I read about a study that was done with music. And what they did was they took individuals that had Alzheimer's. They'd had it for a long time, and they took them back to the music of their youth. They figured out what it was and they started playing it. And they actually saw over a period of years that the dementia and the memory loss and the recognizing your loved ones and all those things, the symptoms lessened because of the music therapy. And I was fascinated with that.
Well, I find that I'm not sure about that. I don't underwrite that, because that is very dangerous, because we know that dementia is not a cure at this moment.
Right. It didn't cure. It didn't cure. But it just helped awaken some things, I guess.
That is does. And that is it for everybody. As we now talking here with each other, there's a little bit of our brain is active. But at the moment, Deborah will start to sing or play something for us, our whole brain is being active.
Right.
One music stimuli activate 17 billion music cells in our head. And those music stimuli spread about the whole brain and activating and connecting the different parts of our brain. And just those connections are so very important, because we are connection, everything we do. So that is what happens, Deborah. And also that is what you say is so true, because most people think Alzheimer and dementia, it's doom. Yes, of course it is not fun. Cancer is not fun. Every illness of disability is not fun, but we have to make something from it. And we must do and we must act. And I have very good memories about the years I have cared for my mother. And if you go together, and the most important thing is that your approach, because how more dementia are coming, how more the feeling of empathy growing and growing. And because at the moment you think, oh my God, I have to go to wash him again, the person will feel that. And then you get a reaction. So, and you have so much art in house. Please continue with the art. And this is for everybody with a disability. Take up the art. In the art, you will be free. Because this wonderful painting here of Picasso, you can find it beautiful or you hate it. But it stays and is a creation of Picasso. So if you have a disability or you have dementia and you create something with the art, it's good. It's yours. Imagine what it does to somebody who always hear you do it wrong, or you cannot do that. It gives you freedom. And it helped yourself finding your way. But you all find it on my site, and we talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
No, let me share a few stories. My father was the younger brother, and he had two sisters and an older brother. And there was quite a difference of age between the younger and the older one. So my father was really young when the other was already teenagers, and my father's brother, he had dementia, and when he was around his 70s, he used to disappear. Nobody knew where he was, and they were always going to find him in places of his youth. No, it could be a place where he was, that he used to go frequently when he was a teenager. So, and sometimes he was walking, miles to go to that place. He was walking there. Nobody, and then we tried to, the people were a bit scared when nobody knew where he was. He could just disappear, and then they were able. This happened for 3 times, and then they were able to find a way to avoid this because he was getting out of the home. And but they had this thing in common. They were always going to find him in the place that related with his youth. He was always trying to find something, a place like that. The other is is going back to Pink Socks and to the way it connects us. The first time that I brought my Pink Socks to Portugal and I put them into wash, my wife put them in the washing machine, and then she dried them, and then she wear them, and then I realized, what are you doing with the Pink Socks? Oh, they were so comfortable, I decided to wear them. So I just wanted to share this last part with you.
That's really great. That you say, people with dementia are looking for their own home, and that home that is by the dementia in the past, coming in the past, and then they go out and they walk around and get away. And the moment that people with dementia must put up in a home is not about the condition of the person, but more about the condition of the caretaker, of the caregiver. Is it a caregiver?
Yes.
And okay, but on my site, musicshelter.info, I have made 3 very powerful tools which help. And the first is the approach. 2 is second, and 3 is the surrounding. So at the moment you create a surrounding where the person has handholds and things remember from his past, he has no need to go away. And all these 3 tools are a double-edged sword. It brings happiness for the person with dementia, and at the same time, it makes the care easier. And that is so important, because we always think about, it is important to think about the person with dementia, but when the caregiver feels at ease and easier, then the person with dementia has a better place at home.
Indeed. Going back to the whole sort of idea of music as a trigger and reminiscences, I was involved a few years back in something similar. So we had one of our key clients is the BBC, and they've got this huge archive of materials. And one of the things that they wanted to do was utilize this archive. And so they created something called Remark, which is the Reminiscence Archive, and it allows people, and it's designed for people to sit, for the caregiver to sit, or the family member to sit with the person who has dementia, and look at clips from specific time periods. So, like you said,
Right.
there are key periods where you form your memories, and you're going to regress to. So you can work out which of these time periods they are, and then you can sit and you can watch clips of this. And what they found is that this is bringing moments of lucidity to people that have not been lucid for quite some time, because they're triggering memories, and it's enabling some kind of interaction between the family member and the person with dementia, and of course enjoyment and a moment of light. So I think this is very much similar to what you're doing. Obviously, it's not creating the whole. With music, it can be with you, and it can help set the setting for the home. But it's the same kind of thing in that you're putting someone in a context of comfort, in a context of where they still recognize themselves.
That's very important, because the television of today, they go too fast and they don't recognize it. So if you have television and all things of the past, that gives a feeling of home. And just, I make it clear for you. Imagine we all 3, we are standing in our own street, in our own neighborhood, and we want to go home. But there is some thick fog, you cannot find your own home. It becomes dark, you get cold, and you become fear. How do you feel at the moment that your partner, your child, is standing on the rooftop and is shouting out your name? And at that moment, you know, there is my home where I feel safe and secure. That feeling, that is what music and things that you recognize, that is what gives to people with dementia something to hold on. And that is our job. That's our job to create that. And we can do that with music. We can do that with the environment. We can do that with television. But we have to do that. And of course, our approach. So that is what happens when you're lost. And we can make handholds.
And something else that I'm thinking about as I'm walking this journey with a loved one is that instead of deciding that the world needs to look this way and we need to do these things, like I've noticed there's certain things that my husband, he can't do anymore. And so at first I thought, oh, woe is me. But then I thought, well, does he really have to do those things, or can you do those things, or can somebody else do those things? And maybe we can focus on the things now that he can still do. He can do a lot of things. And what's interesting is the arts and the music and all that stuff. It has always spoken to him, but he didn't have as much time to do it as he was making a living and changing diaper and all the things we do in life, right? So now it almost feels that this time is more precious for us to really focus on who he is as a human being and as a soul. And I also think, Ignar, that because I'm doing a lot of thinking and soul searching about this, and I think that his brain is just working differently. And so I always say on my other show, Human Potential at Work, that people with disabilities aren't broken. They just use their brains differently in some cases. It's the same thing with autism, with dyslexia, perfect example. But it seems like sometimes we decide people are broken or they're becoming broken because fill in the blank, when in actually we just need to interact with them in a different way, which is what you proved with your mom, with the music.
People are never broken.
Right.
Never. It is so important to see, and that is see a person, meet a person with every disability. It is so. I gave once a lecture. It was in care home for people with mental disability, and just middle in my presentation, there came a boy in with a water can and a glass, and for the speaker, that was me. But he thought I just was not started, and he felt very uncomfortable, and he has down that he has. But at that moment, I stopped, and I give him my attention, and I say, "Welcome, come in. I'm happy to see you because I really need a glass of water. Would you pour it in for me?" He does. He again says sorry. I say, "No need. I really talk rather with you than with them because you give me water. They don't." And he smiled. And I did this and we hugged. He goes away. And then the nursing were saying, "You give him the time of his life." And then I think, why? I did not have something special. I see a boy. And
you connected.
I connected. Because
connected with another human being.
And not because I didn't think, oh God, there's a boy with Down. What must I do? What can I do? Not what can I do? No, I see a person, meet a person. And we know all, if a person is sitting in a wheelchair and there is somebody behind it, everybody talk to the person behind it, not to the person in the wheelchair. No, you sit in a wheelchair, you must be crazy. But that's not true. See a person, meet a person. And that is what we must do. And that is so very important. And yes, Deborah, dementia does a lot with our brain. But I also think that all kinds of things are disappearing. The true person, the really being, is coming more and more to the surface, and that can be, and it could be very beautiful. And the most important thing is, what we must do is, and that's for everybody, create an ambience where a person feels, I may be myself. I may make mistakes. I may forget. I may break a glass. I can be myself, because at that moment, if we create that ambience, people can move and fly above themselves. And they can do much more than we think. I have seen it. And that is especially for dementia, but for everybody. If you have a disability, and also for us here. If I feel, whoa, Deborah is very picky of me, of my English, because it is not my first language, then I think, oh God, oh God, oh God. So, and then I go down. But if Antonio and Neil, they make me feel comfortable, then I dare to speak, and then I can fly.
Yeah, we'll give you big hugs. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, it allows us to tap into who we are. Are we just the chores that we have to get done and all the to-dos we have to do? Or is this multidimensional person in there? Because one thing I've noticed, my husband's still there. I mean, we're at the early stages and I can feel him and he's there and he's also walking this himself along with me and my children and the people that love him. So it reminds me once again, we're very complex, multidimensional human beings. And it reminds me of walks that I've had with, my nephew that has autism. My nephew who has autism is a technologist and he sings in a quartet choir and he's got such empathy and compassion for everyone. And I've learned so much from him. And I think sometimes we do forget to really, and that's what we're all about on AXSchat, and with Pink Socks, once again, engaging with the whole human being, really engaging with the whole human being. I want to call Antonio out for a second. He had made a little comment in the window about Portuguese national TV, and I was hoping he would say that on air.
No, what happened in the last couple of years, the Portuguese national TV channel, they have a huge archive, and they decided to put it to use. So you are able to go back and see a lot of shows from the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. And they have that type of programs continuously running, and you are able to go to your box and choose the programs that you want to see. Depending of what they are displaying. So it's very interesting because we know that many tech-savvy people can go online and they can watch these programs by themselves, but not everyone has access to the web in the way how we do, even if sometimes we assume we have. So they have this on available on the cable network, so everybody can go there and can watch programs from the past, including news.
So that's very great.
So it's quite interesting, and in Portugal we have subtitles on basically on everything. So even old shows that were subtitled in different language in the past, they will also have subtitles in Portuguese. So sometimes I end up myself watching that channel because there's nothing really nice going on in the other ones. So it's quite an interesting way of putting the archives into the server.
But yes, it's really true. Deborah, also Trey, that I work with two person with dementia. With two people with autism, and that is really great to do. And
yes,
I love that work. Because Nick and Martin, who I play with, when we have the show, I've written the play, and when we do the play and they sing and they act, they can break out of their autism cage, and that is so beautiful to see. But there's a second point that if you have a disability, it's also very important that you make a step, that you act, and that you gotta hit the road. That you do something, and not big. Do a little step. What can you do tomorrow? Just go to a choir or something of a club or something, a little step, or taking up volunteer work. And that little step can become bigger. Throw the pebbles in the pond.
You made me think of a comment. I mean, a comment. When our daughter Sarah was growing up, she had once again Sarah has Down syndrome. So one thing she was really bad at, and we couldn't seem to break her of this. And the speech therapists were trying, the occupational therapists were trying, the teachers were trying, we were trying. But when Sarah would speak to someone, she wouldn't look at him. So she would speak and she'd look down, and she would never look up at you. And of course, in societies, we expect you to look. If I'm looking at you, I'm paying attention to you. I mean, often, not in all cultures, it's sometimes different, but certainly in the United States culture, we did. And so when Sarah got interested, she was always interested in music and the arts, but when she started taking theater arts, and the theater art teacher was saying to her and to all of the students, whenever you're on stage, you need to project your voice and you need to look at the audience. And she actually changed my daughter. My daughter started looking at you, and she's really good about it now. When you meet her, she will look you in the face, she will shake your hand, and she'll talk to you. But she learned that from theater arts, not from me nagging.
That is the point, the art. Please bring in the art with everybody with a disability, with dementia. And remember, Deborah, the person with dementia is always there. Yes. Stays there always. It becomes difficult and more difficult to reach the person, but they will always be there. That we never, never forget.
Yes, and I'm going to get you to hold my hand all the way down this path. As soon as I forget and I think, woe is me, and I get so sad about what ifs, I'm going to remember. I'll come back to you. Yeah. Say, Ignar, I need to be popped in the head.
Yeah. Well, we can all do the dance together. How does it go again?
We gotta hit the road.
Yes, right.
Yeah, excellent. This has been a great chat. Yes. We're going to have to close shortly because we're pretty much at the end of our time. But it's been really great to talk about a topic that I think that is very pertinent, because dementia is something that is one of the biggest draws on our healthcare budget at the moment, and is increasing, yes. And will continue to increase because of the aging population, and yet it's still not something that people understand or even want to talk about. So I think the fact that you're going out there, you're connecting with people, you're bringing humanity back to dementia and to the conversations around disability and difference is really very commendable, and I love what you're doing. So keep it up.
Do you all do that?
Yeah. Yes, we love your spirit. We love your spirit, Ignar. We love it.
Let's not forget it. Maybe we could it in the chat. I was just asked if people want to interact with building up a 50-25 database for my site, so people with a disability could help or start with it. And
yes, definitely you should. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, let's encourage people to get in touch with Ignar. Need to thank Barclays for all of their support and keeping AXSchat running all of these long years. We really appreciate it when organizations like Barclays really buy into the idea and start embedding access and inclusion into their DNA. Credit to them. So thank you very much. We look forward greatly to you joining us on Twitter on Tuesday. I think it's going to be a great chat. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for your wisdom. Thanks for your wisdom.
Thank you for a nice chat.
And it's very important that you can continue to share those videos on LinkedIn. It's a very good place to share that, considering a professional network, and is a place that really needs that type of messages. Thank you so much.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.